What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Recruiting is heating up, and the number one overall player in the nation has set a Miami unofficial visit. Already visited once unofficially, going to visit unofficially again, and potentially set up an official visit after that. Follow the visits. Miami is right in the mix for the number one overall player in the country, Jackson Cantwell. We'll get to that. Another top 10 player at their position, Javian Mallory, top 10 back from the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. He sets his official visit. He's got a lot of interest in the Canes, so we'll talk all about some of these big-time recruits coming to Miami, also answer some of your questions, and just keep talking Canes, man. Some folks that are always at the top of their spot. That is Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, hop in.
Yesterday, you said you were going to hop me in yourself, so I was waiting for you to do it. I didn't realize.
I don't think I know how. I don't think I know how. But how you doing, man?
Doing well, man. Doing well. It's good news today with Jackson Cantwell. I've said for a while that Miami felt pretty good with it. Not that they felt like they were leading by any stretch, but they felt like they were more in it than maybe the public had believed. So, look, I feel strongly about their chances with elite offensive linemen that they really put all their resources in on. And, I think they'll be right in the mix here.
No question about it. This is a position where Miami has proven they can get elite players. You talk about 5-star Francis Mauigoa, 5-star Samson Okunlola. So, we have to talk about what's happened in Oregon. So this is a position where they can get it done. So, not much more to say about that. Talking about Cantwell in particular, so he has named the top 6 of Georgia, Michigan, Miami, Missouri, Ohio State, and Oregon. The buzz is on Georgia and Oregon right now. Some people are saying Michigan is kind of in the mix there, but Miami consistently finds their way in these conversations, and the visits are telling. So he is going to visit in the spring. So during his spring break in March, he's off of school, Miami, Ohio State, and Michigan. So he'll have a chance to see those schools. Then he's going to take 5 official visits. If Miami impresses him again, and he had a very good unofficial visit the first time, went with his mom, didn't go with his dad, had a very good in-house visit as well from what he said. Miami keeps checking these boxes. They can get an official, and now you're right there in the mix. This is a guy who, right before spring breaks, going to compete in the indoor track and field national championships. His parents are both Olympic throwers. He's a national champion in the shot put, set a national record for his grade, finished 4th in the discus. Now, that meet took place at Oregon's Hayward Field. That's why you look at Oregon as potential factor here. The national championship throwing event was at Oregon. This is a track and field school. So keep an eye on that part of it. That's going to be a factor. If he says, hey, I can get my football, I can get my track all together at Oregon, it's going to help push them closer to the top. But from an offensive line development standpoint, I got to think we have the much better case. You look at a guy like Josh Connerly, number 1 overall player at his position, or I believe number 2, number 1, depending who you ask, 5-star player coming out. He could be a first rounder. He's not going to be a top 10 pick. His development was fine, but it wasn't outstanding. Penei Sewell, a much more attractive developmental track if you are Jackson Cantwell, because he was a top 10 pick, one of the best players in the NFL right now. So, I think when you look at Francis Mauigoa, who by this time next year is going to be projected as, if he stays on the track he's at, top 10 overall pick. That's the buzz you hear from the early reports when guys, these ESPNs of the world go and scout the next year's class. You're seeing Francis Mauigoa consistently at the top of those lists. I think that's accurate based on what we've seen from him. So I think the offensive line only case is much more persuasive for Cantwell here in Miami. The track and stuff, I think, helps with Oregon. My big concern is this guy's from Nixon, Missouri, which is small town Missouri. To go to Miami, that's a different animal, right? But when you read his quotes, him and his mom both, the first thing they say about Miami is, we like the atmosphere. We like the environment. So if that hurdle is not really a hurdle, is in fact a strength, you got a shot here. And again, follow the visits. This is a guy who I think further along as a run blocker than a pass blocker. hasn't passed a lot. His team didn't pass a lot in high school, as you could see from watching these clips. But as a run blocker, I mean, his power is supreme. This guy's got incredible hand strength and explosiveness. He's the best thrower in the country. That's what you'd expect. He's 6'7.5". He's going to get bigger and stronger. And I think truly a kid like this could benefit. And you look at just the knockback of the hands. A kid like this who's not a finished product, probably, in my opinion, further behind than a Francis Malinois was at the same age. Not saying the upside's not there, but I think Francis Malinois was probably more ready to play as that number 1 overall offensive lineman. About Cantwell, I'm saying, well, if I had the potential to be a first-round pick, but I need development, let me go to the guys who develop first-round picks. That, to me, makes a lot of sense, and that's going to be the pitch. But you can't make the pitch if they're not there. He's going to be visiting unofficially, so you're going to have a chance to make that pitch in person. You could point to Francis Malinois on the practice field and say, that's what you're going to be. And he's going to believe it because it happened and he was a freshman starter. I am very, like you said, Pete, you've talked about it. I'm not saying this is something that is like we're the favorite or anything like that. But if you keep getting this guy on campus, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to sell. And I don't think he's sold to any particular school. He's a true number 1 recruit going through his process.
Someone in the comments says that he looks or that guy's overrated, smell future bust. You hit it on the head, D, when it comes to a guy like this, is that like he just has tools that at a position like offensive line, that's such a position of development. He has the most premium tools, and especially as a run blocker right now, that just the sheer power and strength that he has. If he can continue to develop, I mean, this is a future first-round pick.
No question. And look, Mirabal and Cristobal, no offensive linemen, and they're after him. So I agree his pass blocking is going to need work. He looked a little rusty there when I saw him at the Under Armour game, but that's what coaching's for. He's 6'7.5". He can move. That'll develop. He hasn't pass blocked. So you can't expect someone who doesn't pass block to be great at pass blocking. It's going to take some time. When it comes to, we're seeing comments in the chat about Will Harris, the defensive backs coach from Florida, who's now going to coach safeties for the Miami Hurricanes. People are asking, there's rumors, Gator fans starting rumors he's going to the NFL. He's there working. You saw Gabby Rudy report it. I have not heard anything that he's going to the NFL. What I'll say is I think every assistant coach wants to go to the NFL. Pete, you've talked to coaches. I've talked to coaches.
I talked to a very prominent coach that Canes fans know very well a couple weeks ago, who was at the coaches convention that they have every year in Nashville, and he said, man, every college assistant coach I spoke to is trying to get to the NFL. It's not you don't, the NFL has people in place, which college is working towards that, but just the nature of it is that the position coach is always going to have to do recruiting. In the NFL, there's people in place to do all of that work because it's not a recruiting, it's a draft, right? So, like, you don't have to deal with it. You can just coach ball and get paid very well to do it.
And the portal. I mean, the portal's a nightmare.
The portal and recruiting, that's what it is, right?
When you have to recruit your own players to stay, that's not fun. That's not what you signed up for. So every coach wants to go to the pros. And I've heard this from SEC coaches who are now in the pros, and they laugh about even potentially going back. So if he has pro opportunities, I'm sure he's going to listen, but I haven't heard that that's a thing. So,
and he'd already been in the pros, right? So,
yeah.
Juan Manuel is asking, is there ever a time where there's no drama at Miami? With all the coaching movement, this is happening at every staff across the country. And again, it's you're always going to have turnover. It's how you replace certain spots on the staff. And I think with the next recruit we're going to talk about here, I don't know if that's what you want to get to right now, D, but I think a certain coach deserves a lot of credit, and he's going under the radar with the work that he's doing, I think.
Yeah, let's get into it. Javian Osborne with an A, out of Forney, Texas, is the Dallas-Fort Worth area, same area that produced Ashton Jeanty, really becoming a running back hub. Number 6 running back overall in the country, according to industry ranking. Number 77 player overall in the country, has set his official visit to Miami May 30th to June 1st. They asked him about it. He said it's about the coaches. It's about the environment. I feel I can thrive in the offense. The university seems very unique, which is always a good thing to hear because they're going to come down here and see, that lake, beautiful woman, tanning at the volleyball court. He's going to see iguanas and fish jumping. It is a very unique environment. So if he's already kind of attuned to that, he'll get what he's asking for there. But he mentioned that Coach Merritt has been recruiting him for a long time. He has a great relationship with him. Cristobal and Merritt visited him. So, he wanted to pay that respect back to them by coming back for an official visit. So the interest is paying off. Cristobal and Merritt, these guys work. You're talking about a recruiting operation, both before Merritt and with Merritt, that has gotten a top 10 running back every year. You got Mark Fletcher in year one of the first, well, really the first year, the transition class, you got Trevante Citizen, who got hurt, but he was a top 10 running back. Then the next year, you get Mark Fletcher from Ohio State, top 10 running back. Then you get Jordan Lyle, another top 10 running back. Then this past year, you get Gerard Pringle from SF New Armwood, another top 10 running back. So you're consistently getting top 10 backs in the country. You had probably the best or the second best running game in the country last year with Notre Dame. When you look at the yards per carry, the ability to run in short yardage, I think this was probably the best running back, certainly in the Power Four. Put Notre Dame in their own category. They had a running quarterback as well. I think aside from that, and maybe including that, this was the best running game in the country. So running backs see that. They know they have good offensive linemen. And I think with Osborne, you hear him not only talk about what he likes about Merritt and everything else, but he says he keeps referencing the fact that Coach Cristobal is an offensive line coach. And pull up his highlights if you can for Osborne. But he keeps referencing that Cristobal's an offensive line coach. They have great offensive linemen. If you are a running back, why would you not want to play with the best offensive linemen? So I think that makes sense. Shout out to Silos here. Shout out to all the people in the chat, man. We got already over 500 just started. We're rolling. A lot of action coming up. But, Javian Osborne, different kind of back than some of the guys we're recruiting. You just look at some of the top running backs we're after, whether it's Javian Mallory from West Boca, Jai Lamar from Georgia, the young man from Ohio, from Delaware, Ohio, Favor Aki, who is a big fast back. Miami's in the mix for a lot of 4 stars, but this guy to me is more similar to Pringle, track guy, ran 11 flat as a sophomore, probably under 10 flat or 10, somewhere in the 10s now in the 100. But you see the breakaway speed here. This guy with elusiveness, this guy with production. He's got a big pedigree, and he comes from an area in Dallas-Fort Worth that has been just pumping out really, really high-quality backs. Here you see him as a receiver, catching the screen, making guys miss, good balance, and then the breakaway speed.
Yeah, and A-Rob says Matt Merritt's doing work. So, I mean, that's what I was getting at. I mean, you talked about the production on the field, and then it goes on to this next comment here, which is what I was going to say is that Miami's in the mix for a lot of big-time backs right now, which you were just talking about too, is Matthew Catalina says, how many running backs we're going to take? We're in on so many for 26. I mean, at least 2. There's an argument to be made. You maybe could have taken another one this last class with Pringle. Could they maybe take another one in the spring portal session? We'll see, just to add some depth there. But I think without a doubt, it's got to be 2.
Yeah, and shout out to Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's an area that's produced a lot of Canes. Jesse Armstead, number 1 player in the country from Dallas Carter back in the day. Miami needs to get back in this area. There are a lot of Canes fans. Cam Ward just got the Davey O'Brien Award in Dallas-Fort Worth. So, shout out to John Chahaki, longtime listener, was there at the ceremony with the Canes, with Cam, everybody, seeing him win that award. So shout out to all the Dallas-Fort Worth Canes. But, I think that's an area that we need to get back to. Boise State's been getting guys from there. Look at Ashton Jeanty. They've gotten some few more. There's guys.
Genty. Remember, it's Genty.
Genty.
I'm gonna correct you on that one, even though I was the one who messed that up on group chat.
Yeah, no, good job getting that one. But yeah, so a lot of guys coming out of that area, and we need to get better there. Javian Osborne obviously showing some interest. He will be officially visiting the Miami Hurricanes.
Good point here from Carlos Montilla saying, I would think the Miami staff would want to point to the progress Markel Bell has made under their tutelage for Jackson Cantwell than Francis Mauanoa based on their size.
Yep. No, great point.
Those tall guys, those tall O-linemen, not to cut you off, D, but it's a whole different breed, man, because their bodies are, they function differently, right? So you got to coach those guys up a certain way. They've got to be really good technically.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this is accurate because I don't have a tape measure for this, but I believe Matthew McCoy is up to 6'7". That's what Mirabal said in a recent interview. So he's another tall guy that doesn't get talked about for his size, former tight end, but McCoy is huge. Some other schools in the mix for Osborne: Texas, Michigan, Georgia, SMU. So obviously SMU, the local school there in Dallas. Texas is going to recruit Texas, Michigan, and Georgia, two of the best running teams in the country over the past few years, although Miami was significantly better running the ball than Georgia last year. Something to think about when you look at Carson Beck and why, he didn't have the same kind of production last year than the year before, and why he might have better production here at University of Miami. Georgia's running game fell off considerably, but of course they're going to recruit top backs. They're in the mix here, as you'd expect. So, a lot of action. Let's see. We got a question here from Chris Grotto. Who are your favorite receivers in the class of 26 from Miami? Some names. Tristan Keys, who's going to take an official visit, probably the top receiver in the country. What'd I say?
I said him.
Oh, yeah.
That's who my favorite is based on what we were watching.
Oh, he's unreal. 5-star player, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Him or Chris Henry, flip a coin who's the top receiver in the country. Calvin Russell, another 5-star player from Miami Northwestern. They just lost in basketball to St. Brendan. Shout out to Kevin Esteban, the AD over there at St. Brendan, turning that program around. But, unbelievable.
Even though he's a Gator, we'll give him a shout out.
Yeah, we'll give him a shout out. His wife's a Cane. I think she's the cheerleading coach for the Cane. So shout out to Mrs. Esteban. But the Calvin Russell just wrapped up his basketball season. He'll do 7-on-7s now. Incredible athlete. Not the finished product of some other guys in that mix of the 5-star receivers, but 6'5", 190. We talked to Coach Duaso yesterday. Check out that interview if you haven't, who runs the Raw 7-on-7 program. Probably the most talented 7-on-7 program in the country. Had Malachi Tony last year, who's playing receiver for Miami now. Calvin Russell was on that team last year. Will rejoin that team this year now that he's done with basketball. And he thinks he's over 6'6". Or going to be over 6'6". So this guy's a tall, super athletic receiver. You got guys like, Ethan Feaster, Booby Feaster. Miami's been talked about potentially getting an OV from him. 5-star receiver from the class of 27, just reclassified to DeSoto, Texas. 6'1", 175. Another name to keep an eye on. And there'll be more that Miami will be in the mix for. Brandon Bennett, 6 foot, 170 from American Heritage. I saw him in the state championship game take a kick to the house. Elite speed, legit 4'3", kind of like Anthony Schwartz, maybe a little further along as a receiver with him, but he's definitely a dynamic player. Those are just some of the names that kind of jump out at the receiver position.
You were getting a lot of questions about Kevin Beard as well.
Yeah, look, I hear the rumors like everybody else. I don't know. We'll find out how that situation plays out. I have nothing for you guys on that at the moment. I hear the same rumors you do. I talk to people. Nobody has told me Beard is gone, but it's not something I pursued a ton.
Yeah, I haven't heard it either. But I don't think it'd be a surprise to some.
Yeah, it could happen. I'm not saying it's a fake news or anything. I'm not in a position to really give you anything on that one. If it happens, I think this is going to be a pretty desirable job. Miami's added some pretty good assistant coaches, right? And that's on defense. On offense, you had the number 1 offense in the country last year. I think there's going to be no shortage of people wanting any job that comes available on offense. But as of now, I'm not aware of any imminent news. But that's not saying it's not true. I've heard the same rumors you have. What else we got going on here? Question.
You want to shout out?
Question from one second. But question from Matthew Catalina on Jabari Brady. This is a guy who's bounced around high schools, right? He was at I believe he was at Monarch. Then he was at Chaminade. This is a highly rated player. He's currently ranked number 8 in the country, scratching 5-star status. He was at Chaminade last year. Again, he's kind of gone all over the place. 6'1.5", 205. He has a lot of talent, but he hasn't produced necessarily to the level of some of these other top guys. I think he's someone Miami's monitoring and is interested in. The ranking to me is a little rich right now, but he could prove to be that kind of player. He's someone that did well early. It's kind of been up and down but he's got more, we'll see where he goes. I kind of agree with you, Christian Ville, about Jason Lopez. I think Jason Lopez from Chaminade, who really was that go-to guy in Chaminade, is the most exciting of those receivers. In fact, let me amend what I said earlier, because I was looking at the list of top players. I didn't mention Jason Lopez. Jason Lopez, to me, is absolutely one of the top players in the country. We had a whole episode about him because Miami's showing a lot of interest there. Great basketball player, Miami caliber in basketball, and very productive on the field. He gets a lot of Restrepo comparisons because he's a Latin guy, but he's probably a little bigger, more of a contested catch receiver. Again, it has that very, very good basketball background. Restrepo was good on contested catches too, but he wasn't as big as Lopez. Lopez is taller and longer. Great athlete. To me, that is a guy that's a must-have in this class. So I'm glad you brought him up, because I do believe that Jason Lopez is one of the top receivers that we're targeting right now. We did a whole episode on Pete.
Did a whole episode. I was going to say last, was that 2 weeks now? 2 weeks ago at this point, maybe? Yeah, but go check it out. We have it on the page recently there.
Yeah, and Lance is saying, I like Lopez, but Brady has more upside. It could be, but look, don't sleep on Lopez's upside. This guy's a big-time basketball player. I mean, we're talking about a recruit in a Division I FBS, or what do you call it in college? D1? What's the college?
Yeah, D1.
This guy's a legitimate recruit.
It's like 400 D1 basketball, so like 330 or something like that.
This guy's a guy that has a chance to play at a big school. He could play at Miami in basketball potentially. So he's got a lot of upside too, and he's already a very good player. So he has present
364.
Talent.
Sorry.
Oh, Division I teams. Yeah. So Lopez he's going to get the Restrepo. He's going to get the Restrepo comparisons because they're Hispanic.
Because of the number 7
and the number 7. But he has certain things Restrepo doesn't. And by the way, if he becomes Restrepo's a first team All-American. His banner's is going to be in the IPF. So I hope he becomes Restrepo. I think that upside, it's hard to have more upside than that at the college level than a first team All-America at receiver. So if that's what happens, we will be very, very happy to add this guy. But I think he's a little different and has certain things that are going to help him do certain things better than Restrepo did, just from a length and contested catch perspective.
Christianville says he can be a starter in the AC and hoops too. Listen, I'm not far off from believing that either. I would like to watch him in person, but I think he can do it. I mean, physically, he can. That's not going to be a question for me because he's a football guy. So I don't think he's going to have an issue like dealing with ACC guards, so to speak. But I mean, he's a guy who can really play basketball. He's not just relying on athletic ability out there.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Restrepo's Colombian. I don't know if Jason Lopez is Cuban or Colombian, but if he is Cuban, we already know where he goes to get his food, and that is Islas Canarias Express in the Dateland Mall Dining Pavilion. All kinds of new options. The Malanga, just all kinds of great new dishes at Islas Canarias Express, along with the world famous croquetas. This has been around for 40 years. It is the most famous. If you're Cuban, you know where to go. Islas Canarias. It is just a name brand amongst the community. And look, you don't have to be Cuban to enjoy some of the best Cuban food in the world. You get the OG ham, voted the best croqueta in Miami numerous times. All kimchi mojo pork. Look at that kind of crazy option. Buffalo cauliflower. I mean, the fish. You have all different kinds of options at croqueta, whether it's traditional or new. You got tostones. You got the cubaritos, which is like a combination Cuban food burrito. That's kind of a new take, but you're on the road, you're on the go there at Dayland Mall. Grab one and go. There's a new item right there, Pete. I know you love that one. Give me the pronunciation right there on that one.
Camarones and enchilados, man. Of course.
There you go. And then the croqueta box is the best in the game. Look at some of these items, man. It's an insult to say this isn't a food court. This is a dining pavilion classic, and again, same kind of quality you get at the restaurant out west, which is the best in the world.
Christianville giving you props for your transition there, D.
Yeah, man. No, we work on them, man. We work on them. So, in terms of recruiting, I think those are some of the names that catch your attention as far as setting up visits. We got a lot of running backs in the mix. I mentioned Osborne, Mallory, Jay Lamar, Amari Lattimore, big physical back out of Georgia. And look, the name we should probably be talking about the most is Derek Cooper. Pete, pull up his video because I wanted to just kind of update folks on what this guy is doing in track, right? So this is the 5-star athlete from Chaminade. We talked about him a lot last year after the Under Armour camp. When we saw him in person, he was probably the best athlete of that running back group. Really, really good defensively as well. There you go, Derek Cooper. Really good defensively as well. I think probably even better on defense than an offense. It's sort of like that safety linebacker hybrid. I think he could be like all world at that position, but he's a very, very good back as well. And man, over 200 pounds. And look at his track times this year. 10.79 earlier this year. This was about 4 days ago at the Louis Bing Invitational. So you want to talk about speed. 10.79 as a running back that's going to be over 200 pounds if he's not already. Insane speed. Put that speed on defense. Now you're talking about a true freak. But you see it right here. Straight ahead runner, physical, and then that's the 10.79 right there. Also long jumper, over 22.77.5 in the long jump. So he is extremely explosive. Triple jump, 38, 11.5 inches, 22.21 in the 200 meters. This is a guy that is extremely, extremely gifted physically. That's why he's a 5-star player. There's a question from Kevin Dennis. Do you like him as a defender? Some of the best defenders were great high school running backs. I tend to agree with you, my personal opinion, but you got to let him play what he wants. Matthew Catalina is saying he wants to play running back in college. You give these guys a chance to show what they can do at their preferred position and get him on campus. Marshall Faulk wanted to be a running back. We want him at DB. Ended up being a great running back, to say the least. Hall of Fame. Clint
reminds me of Devin White a little bit, D.
Another guy
running back coming out.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best running backs or linebackers were running backs. Ray Lewis was a running back in high school up in Lakeland, Kathleen. So give him a chance. DJ Williams, of course, a famous example. He played running back his first year, eventually became a first-round linebacker, played a ton of years in the pros. So I think give him a chance at running back. He's definitely got the speed. He's definitely got the physical tools. And if it doesn't work, he's got a chance at defense. So, we will see where he goes. But clearly, I think in the track season, he is showing that he is one of the absolutely elite athletes in the country. And you got to bring this guy in. You cannot lose a player like this with that kind of physical tools. He's visited a ton. He's a top priority. Miami's got to get this guy.
Kevin Dennis says someone needs to talk to him. He needs to be he can be a great linebacker. I mean, look, I don't think the decision's been made by any stretch. And look, I'm going to tell you, they could send Ray Lewis to talk to him, and it still may not matter. He may want to still play running back. I'm just saying that's how these guys are sometimes. So
hey, listen, give him a chance. But yeah, some of these,
I'm with it.
Some of the track times these guys are putting up are just insane. You look at Javari Flowers, the corner who just reclassified to the class of 25. He's going to have to be recruited now with urgency because he's going to make a decision here in the next couple months. Georgia, a lot of teams on him. This guy ran a 20.91 in the 200, a 10.43 in the 100. He's still competing in track actually because he doesn't have to be. He's not going to be enrolled in a school. But you also got Brandon Bennett, who I mentioned earlier, the receiver for American Heritage, ran a 10.7 last week, but he's gone as low as 10.40 in the 100. State a regional champion in the 100 meters, number 2 in the state in the 100, number 3 in the 200. So just an elite athlete. So we'll see. Got some comments to Lorenzo Lingard, who's another track athlete, who's also a 10.7 runner in the 100 meters. I think the difference between Lingard and Cooper's a little bigger, more physical, played better competition.
We got a comment here from Maurice Lewis. Says, who's the next Jeremiah Smith, Patrick Peterson prospect in South Florida? Well, Jeremiah Smith came out of high school in what, 08, 07, 08? Patrick Peterson, came out of high school in 07, 08. Jeremiah Smith came about 15 years later. So might have to wait 15 more years.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's hard. So I'm just kind of going through some of the names this year. Highest rated player in South Florida would be Calvin Russell. He has the physical tools to be that level of player. Hasn't been as productive as Jeremiah Smith. That's not to say he hasn't been productive, but Jeremiah Smith was a dominant player with those physical tools, elite work ethic, elite intangibles. I think if Calvin Russell focuses only on football, if he does, he wants to play basketball in college. So we'll see how that turns out. But I think you will see what he becomes when he ultimately focuses exclusively on football. Derek Cooper, again, really talented. I think if he played defense, you could talk about him in that category. Offense, still very good, but I wouldn't necessarily have him there at that level. You look forward to the class of 27. Julius Jones are really good, and Nick Lanier, really good wide receivers, but I wouldn't put either of them in that category. Pete, pull up. We talked about him yesterday. That kid from, what was that guy's name from West Broward, Pete? Oh, did we lose Pete? I think we might have lost Pete here. I'm rolling solo. So, one name that I think we could talk about is Amari Sims from West Broward. I believe his name's Amari Sims. Hold on, let me get his name here. We talked on yesterday with Duaso. This is a player from West Broward who he thought was going to be the next Travis Hunter. So let me get you his highlights as we wait for Pete to pop back in here. Let me give him 1 second. Give me 1 second here. Oh, great comment here. Oh, there we go. Amir Spears. Canes Cat Heat 305's got the memory. We just talked about him yesterday, and I already forgot. Amir Spears from West Broward is a true freshman last year. We put up his highlights, and he was one of the most exciting players. Oh, he hopped back in.
Eric Cooper got me so fired up. One of my cords here got disconnected when I jumped up in excitement at one of those.
I needed you. I was dying trying to figure out a name that, without you, I can't get any of these names right. What's the name of the kid that we talked about yesterday from West Broward? Amir Spears? Is that right?
Amir Sears.
Amir Sears. There he is. That guy's unreal. Pete, pull up his highlights if anyone hasn't seen it, because I think we talked about him yesterday, but those of you who didn't see the show, this is a 2028 player. So it's a true freshman.
Give me 1 second. Hold on. I'm having a bit of a technical issue here.
Yeah, Pete's slamming all over the place. Bull in a china shop. Amir Spears, true freshman he played for Miami Gardens Chiefs, 12U, goes to West Broward, same high school as Josh Moore. Travis Hunter comparisons, he play both sides of the ball, was electric as a freshman last year. He has some size to him. He has some speed to him. Travis Hunter comparison from Coach Duaso, who's been around his share of 5 stars, including Calvin Russell, who's the highest rated player in South Florida this year. And he says Amir Spears, so I'd go with him. And then, of course, Nemo Lawrence. Blues mentioned him as the quarterback from Ransom Everglades, which is not exactly a football powerhouse, very good academic school, not a football powerhouse. Neiman Lawrence, really smart kid, went to Ransom for the academics. I believe he is transferring to Northwestern to play with Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback, at the highest levels of Florida football, the defending state champions. So we'll see his career now that he's elevated his competition level, but he's somebody who, he's got a great IQ, having gone to Ransom.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're
good. We're good.
Yeah, your mic is still a little
my
static.
mic's off now. Okay.
Here, P, why don't you just play producer for a second here while you're trying to fix that. Let's take a look at Neiman Lawrence, because I want to show people what we're talking about here. This is a quarterback, potentially the next great quarterback from South Florida. And South Florida, you don't look at it as a quarterback hub, but Jacoby Brissett started a lot of games. Let's start with Lamar Jackson, actually. The 2-time MVP, could have been a 3-time MVP this year. South Florida zone. They get Jacoby Brissett started a ton of games. Teddy Bridgewater started a ton of games. Geno Smith is still a starter in the NFL. Tyler Huntley started games in the NFL. Mike White, guys like that have bounced around. Brandon Doty. So Jordan Travis was, I think, number 6 in the Heisman 2 years ago. So South Florida is starting to produce quarterbacks. We know Texas is the absolute best producing quarterbacks and continues to be one of the best, or the best state for producing quarterbacks. But I think we got to make sure that when there's good players down here, we don't let them leave. And I think Neiman Lawrence is somebody who we mentioned here. Rich is saying he's going to be a great quarterback. Canes Cat saying we're his first offer. He loves the U. Can't let those guys leave. Got to get on them early. Question for Matthew Catalina. What happened to football in the muck? Pahokee and Glade Central aren't producing kids anymore. I was up there in the muck to go fishing for largemouth bass right there at the bottom of Lake Okeechobee. And I asked around because I was curious about that as well. There's been a lot of demographic shifts, a lot of people moving up to West Palm just because the work isn't there as much. I think the sugar industry's declined a little bit. So you see a lot of the players that used to be in the muck, their families used to be in the muck, and they've either moved out of Florida, moved to other parts of Florida, or just moved a little bit east to Palm Beach County or to West Palm Beach in Palm Beach County. So you're seeing less players come out of Glade Central. Pete's hopped back in. Let's see. How is it? How are you sounding?
How does it sound now?
You sound great.
All right, great. I'm sorry, guys.
Hey, let's see Neiman Lawrence here, Pete. While we're talking, I thought that the 2027
the best prospect to come out of there since Frankie Telfort, right? And then Ryan Otero on the baseball diamond.
I think Telfort was Gulliver.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I think Telfort was Gulliver.
Yeah, you're right. Who am I thinking of? Someone came out of Ransom. Maybe I'm wrong.
A lot of, judges and hedge fund guys came out of Ransom. Yeah. Not so many quarterbacks. But Lawrence transferred to Northwestern, going to be coached up by Teddy Bridgewater, but someone who likes the U. We were on him early. He's visited. And you did have a 5-star type quarterback this year in South Florida, Dia Bell, for the class of 26. He's committed to Texas. But I think that was a matter of Miami really liked Darion Coleman out of Orlando, got him committed early and feel good there. Dia Bell, Miami recruited him, but I don't know if it's going to be the full court press that you're going to see with Neiman Lawrence. But certainly if Texas is coming into your area and grabbing a quarterback, it shows you that there are quarterbacks down here that can play ball, especially when Texas quarterbacks have been historically the best. So while we watch Neiman Lawrence here, 35 touchdowns at Ransom. This guy's a freshman, right? And I think he's a legitimate freshman. Look at the size. Look at the arm talent. I mean, man, this guy is a freshman doing these kind of things. And he's got a great IQ. This is a very, very hard school to get into. All these hedge fund guys from New York that are coming down are paying a lot of money to send their kids to Ransom. This guy right here is keeping up academically and athletically is on another planet. You see him spinning around here. Really, really excited to see what he can do. Pete, let's see how your mic sounds.
Hello.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You sound good. Look at this.
Stilo says it sounds murky, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. So, Lawrence, I don't know if he's actually going to go to Northwestern. Maybe he goes to like a charter school and plays at Northwestern. I think Camp Kitchens did that. Tommy Streeter. But man, look at him just making these small school competition look terrible, just scrambling around and throwing bombs down the field. This is just unusual talent for a freshman. I didn't even see his senior video, or his freshman video, so I'm watching this for the first time. Look at how he throws across his body. You see the size too. A big limitation when it comes to South Florida quarterbacks is usually size. The bigger guys tend to produce at a pretty consistent rate. You look at last couple of years, guys like Fernando Mendoza, who's now in Indiana, CJ Bailey, who did a really nice job as a freshman for NC State. The bigger guys tend to have success. And the reason a lot of guys don't have success out of here is because the good ones are usually small and they're just good high school players. This guy doesn't have that problem. He's got the size. He's clearly got the arm strength, and he's got the athleticism to go along with a really good academic pedigree.
Yeah. And, being able to learn with Teddy is going to be huge for his development.
Yeah, again, another South Florida quarterback. Amazing. The guy won a state championship in Northwestern, then he threw a pass in the playoffs. It's pretty amazing.
Didn't he lead them to a scoring drive there?
Yeah, he may have. Yeah, that was that's like a movie stuff. I mean, I couldn't believe that. How could they not have a backup quarterback?
What's going on? It was Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, what's going on in the NFL, man? These multi-million-dollar franchises, billion-dollar franchises, and they don't have a backup. Maybe I'm just speaking as a bitter Dolphins fan.
Christianville says, we say Muscat a lot, but Neiman is Muscat. Just hope he isn't peaking early. Listen, if this is him peaking early, I'll take him.
Yeah, seriously. And we'll see him, throwing to Calvin Russell and company next year. Also, Nick Lanier, top wide receiver in the class of 26. Another guy that's you talk about. I don't know if he has the freakish dimensions of a Jeremiah Smith or Patrick Peterson, the guys in the original question. But look, Nick Lanier's a really, really good football player, really good athlete. We talked about him yesterday with Duaso, who coaches him. He said the guy was just a stud athlete, doing backflips all over the place, playing offense, playing defense, all these sorts of things. But man, a lot of velocity with Lawrence. And these are not receivers that can get down the field. But this guy's got some serious juice in that right arm.
Yeah, he does, and he doesn't look like skinny for his age either. It looks like he has a strong core already at that age, which is impressive. And you see the way his body's maneuvering on some of these throws. It just looks so easy.
Yeah, no, and this is again he's not playing the best competition, but he's not playing with the best competition. When you're a quarterback, you want to give this guy a chance to unleash his arm. And the offensive line, I mean, he's scrambling around, not really protected. Put this guy in American Heritage, give him guys like Malachi Tony, Brandon Bennett. We see what he can do. But man,
and listen, let me tell you something. That ransom field is nice, man.
Yeah, Ransom.
You got the aquatics complex right behind it there.
That's where they filmed Wild Things, Pete. I know you're a little young when that movie came out, starring Denise Richards. One of the top films of the '90s, filmed at Ransom Everglades High School.
Nice. I don't know what that is.
Here we see the speed. Clearly, this guy's definitely a passing quarterback, but he can go get first downs when he needs them.
Big time. I would agree, though. Pretty close to a must get.
Yeah. So, question from Kevin Dennis: how long before Miami can become like LSU and lock down key players in their territory? I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Has it ever been that way?
Yeah, LSU's been good. Maybe in the early days, you could hide kids a little better.
Yeah.
LSU's been good for such a long time. The kids know LSU. They know Malik Neighbors. They know Odell Beckham. They know Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. You need a lot of that kind of equity where kids can associate your brand with success. But right now, they're not there. I think right now it's just about let's get the top guy. Let's get the Jeremiah Smith. Let's get the top guy for a couple years in a row and see how it develops. But yeah, I think it's going to take some time. Question about Feaster, who just reclassified. We're in the mix. He listed a top 6, and we were there. We're kind of fighting for an official visit, but Texas schools are going to be big factors there. But we are fighting for an official visit with Feaster, and once you get on campus, anything can happen. He was here for Battle Miami a couple of weeks ago. I saw him play in person, so he's definitely familiar with the University of Miami and with the city of Miami. Haven't been down here just a couple of weeks ago. Over 1,000 on the live, by the way. Like and subscribe to the show. Appreciate you. If you guys got kids who want to represent the U, maybe these are the future players for the University of Miami. Maybe these are the guys that look at Miami and say, hey, they've been winning my whole life because they just went on a run. 30% off kids apparel at the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. Official store right there across the street from the University of Miami next to the Thesis Hotel. They got everything. This is the official retail provider of the Miami Hurricanes. You can get all kinds of stuff at Miami Hurricane team store, hats, shirts, jerseys. Again, 30% off kids apparel, including the Cam Ward jersey, which you just saw. Make sure your kid is a Cane for life. So when he becomes an athlete or she becomes an athlete, they commit to the University of Miami because they've been wearing the gear for their whole lives. 30% off. And other items, you use 20% off. You get promo code INSIGHT20 for 20% off other items at the Hurricane team store. Your first item, I should say, at the Miami Hurricane team store, 20% off with promo code INSIGHT20. That's online. If you're there in person, just say Canes Insight. They got a button on the cashier. Boom, hit it up, and you are certified as a CIS listener. If you're not a CIS listener, like and subscribe to the show. We are on every single day, giving the absolute latest. Got Mike Ryan tomorrow, who knows what hijinks will ensue. I think the last time we spent a lot of time talking about cockfighting and the resurgence of UM basketball.
Yeah,
so,
which was put to a bit of a halt over the weekend, but got Virginia Tech in the weekend, so excited for that one.
Yeah, one win and turn the momentum right back around.
Yep.
But again, appreciate everybody. Like and subscribe to this show. If you want to hear about some other teams in the country, we also are operating Group Chat Sports over there on our channel, Group Chat Sports, Group Chat Football Live. Just write Group Chat Sports. You'll see the logo with the little text message pop up. That's me and Pete talking transactions from across the country every single day. You see it right here. Getting close to about 1,500 subscribers. We just started the channel, but a lot of really cool stuff going on there. A lot of just keeping track of the crazy movement that's happening. Also, high school recruiting. We get to spring. We'll find out who's doing well in spring. So if you want to keep track of your rivals or schools that you might have interest in, maybe high school recruits that you want to see how they're doing, we will keep you up to date on all the latest from spring practice, just like we did with the portal. So like and subscribe to Group Chat Sports if you got interest in college football as a whole, and want to keep your finger on the pulse there. Also, there you go. Appreciate you, Rich. Sub. Appreciate everybody who subbed. And Canes Insight, don't forget, 7 million posts and counting, but to 8 million soon. That is just rolling with recruiting. People are really starting to pick up the momentum here with the recruiting class. This is free website. Sign up, talk about recruits, fight about who's going to start at which position, just crack jokes, pass the time until the season starts in a few months. We got baseball, football, basketball. There you see it right there. All kinds of coverage. And then the world famous message boards, the biggest Canes community on the planet with the 7 million posts and counting. Who knows what they're talking about now? We got the Knoll tiers. So kind of basking in the failures of the Seminole program. That's one of the most popular threads where we got 5 million views on that thread alone. The Gator tiers thread, I think, is like 10x that. So a lot of action on Canes Insight, 7 million posts and counting. Appreciate everybody supporting. Appreciate you, Matthew. Appreciate everybody who's tuned in. Go Canes.
Go Canes.